chemical coordination and regulation, which is basically endocrine system. So we have already learned that the neural system provides a point-to-point rapid coordination among organs. The neural coordination is fast but short-lived. As the nerve fiber do not innervate all the cells of the body and the cellular functions need to be continuously regulated, a special kind of coordination and integration has to be provided. This function is carried out by hormones. The neural system and endocrine system jointly coordinate and regulate the physiological functions of the body. So basically, in CRK, biology is trying to tell us that neural system and endocrine system both regulate simultaneously to control the body functions. The neural system does provide point-to-point coordination, but the endocrine system provides all of the humoral or innervate functions of the body. Okay, so in mammals which breed seasonally, the testes descend into scrotum only during the breeding season. This was an extra stroke point. Right, now endocrine glands and hormones. Endocrine glands lack ducts and are hence called ductless glands. The secretions are called hormones. The classical definition of hormone is a chemical produced by endocrine glands and released into blood and transported to a distantly located target organ, as current scientific definition as follows. Hormones are non-nutrient chemicals which act as intercellular messengers and are produced in trace amounts. Okay, so basically, what endocrine glands are. There we have two kinds of glands, endocrine glands and ectocrine. So endocrine glands are those glands which do not flow through ducts like through blood vessels. Like blood can do, lymph can do, blood vessels and capillaries and arteries, veins and all these things. And ectocrine glands are those glands which flows through bloods. Okay, so now we come over to hormones. What is hormone? So hormone is a non-nutrient messenger which travels through body fluid and it can be given to the distant part. It is transported to a distant part located from the part which is released, right? To provide the basic maintenance of body, and it is also produced in trace amounts. So basic point, main point over here to recognize is that it is produced in trace amount and it is a non-nutrient chemical. The new definition covers a number of new molecules in addition to hormones secreted by the organized endocrine glands. Invertebrates possess very simple endocrine systems with few hormones, whereas a large number of chemicals act as hormones and provide coordination in the vertebrates. The human endocrine system is described here. So, we have the human endocrine system. The endocrine glands and the hormone-producing diffuse tissues cells located in the different parts of the body constitute the endocrine system. Pituitary, pineal, thyroid, adrenal, pancreas, parathyroid, thymus, gonads, testes in males and ovaries in females are organized endocrine bodies in our body. In addition to these, some other organs, example gastrointestinal tract, liver, kidney, heart, also produce hormones. A brief account of the structure and function of all major endocrine glands and hypothalamus of the human body is given in the following sections. So first is the hypothalamus. Okay, so as you know, the hypothalamus is the basal part of the diencephalon. Okay, so where basically is hypothalamus present? Okay, there comes a neural system kind of thing. So there is our brain. In brain we have one part which is known as forebrain, which is present over here in the frontal part, and in forebrain there is one region which is known as diencephalon. Diencephalon itself has three parts, which is, and its main part is basically we can call it thalamus, but it does not provide that much of functions as much as hypothalamus does. So we have diencephalon, in which we have three parts. First is thalamus. Below it we have hypothalamus, and above it we have epithalamus. So these three combine and form the basal part of the diencephalon. Alright, now we are studying hypothalamus in detail. What hormones cells secrete? It contains several group of neurosecretory cells called nuclei, which produce hormones. And basically, these neurosecretory cells called nuclei are cell bodies. We have studied the neurons, in which the neurons are composed of two parts. Like one is axon, and the front part and the main part, which receives information, is the axon. So axon in hypothalamus we call the nuclei, and these nuclei secretes neurosecretory chemicals. Okay. These hormones regulate the synthesis and secretion of pituitary hormones. This we will study later on properly. However, the hormones produced by hypothalamus are of two types. The releasing hormones, which stimulate the secretion of pituitary hormones, and the inhibiting hormones, which inhibit the secretion of pituitary hormones. So these are of two types. First, which inhibit the secretion secreted by pituitary gland, and another one is stimulatory, which stimulate the secretion of the particular hormone. For example, a hypothalamic hormone called gonadotropin releasing hormone GnRH stimulate the pituitary synthesis and release of gonadotropins, that is LH and FSH. It is actually gonadotropin releasing hormone, which is stimulatory hormone. Now, on the other hand, somatostatin from the hypothalamus inhibits the release of growth hormone from pituitary. And this comes as a question in exam, that what is inhibitory hormone for growth hormone? It is somatostatin. And we can also conclude from the name itself that it is statin, so it will inhibit some function of some hormone, and it is a growth hormone, which we have to remember. These hormones originating in the hypothalamic neurons pass through axons and are released from their nerve endings. These hormones reach the pituitary gland through a portal circulatory system and regulate the function of anterior pituitary. Okay, so there we have the next we will study is the pituitary gland, the master gland. It has three parts. The posterior basically it has two parts, like the anterior pituitary and the posterior pituitary. One we have in the middle is like one more part. I do not recall the name. Okay, so the anterior pituitary, the functions of anterior pituitary are controlled by hypothalamus or regulated by hypothalamus. The posterior pituitary is under the direct neural regulation of the hypothalamus. Okay, it is anterior pituitary is regulated by hypothalamus, but the posterior pituitary, the hormones released by posterior pituitary, actually none of the hormone is released by posterior pituitary, but we can say till now that the hormones from posterior pituitary are in direct regulation with the hypothalamus. Okay, so let's see what pituitary gland basically is. Okay, first an overview of pituitary gland, pituitary hormones basically. Most of the pituitary hormones are termed as trophic hormones or trophin. A hormone which stimulates the secretion of other hormones is a trophic hormone. Trop means to turn on. So pituitary hormones are also known as trophic hormones, or we can say trophin. And this name was given to pituitary hormones because they regulate the function of other hormones. And it is a master gland, so we can say that, right? So the pituitary gland, the pituitary gland is also known as hypophysis, right? The pituitary gland is located in a bony cavity called sella turcica, and it is attached to hypothalamus by a stalk. So there we have a diencephalon, in which we said there is a hypothalamus below thalamus, and from that hypothalamus a stalk is originated, and the stalk connects the pituitary gland from the hypothalamus. It is divided anatomically into an adenohypophysis and a neurohypophysis. Adenohypophysis consists of two portions, pars distalis and pars intermedia. Pars distalis region of pituitary is also called anterior pituitary. Produces growth hormone called GH, prolactin, PRL. Okay, basically almost all the hormones are secreted from the distal part. So what we have studied over here is that we have our hypophysis. We call pituitary gland the hypophysis. It is divided into two parts, that is adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis. The front part, that is pars distalis and pars intermedia. The first part is pars distalis. Then comes the pars intermedia, and these two are combinedly called as adenohypophysis, right? And there we go to the second part, which is posterior pituitary. Posterior pituitary is also known as pars nervosa, which is also called as neurohypophysis, which comes under neurohypophysis, we can say basically properly, technically, right? And major hormones from the pituitary are released by pars distalis, that is in adenohypophysis. The pars intermedia is almost just attached to the pars distalis, and it doesn't secrete much of the hormones. It does secrete only one hormone, that is MSH, I guess. Yes. So The hormones secreted by pars distalis are growth hormone, prolactin, thyroid stimulating hormone, adrenocorticotropic hormone, luteinizing hormone, and follicle stimulating hormone. Next we come to pars intermedia. Pars intermedia secrete only one hormone, which is melanocyte stimulating hormone, MSH. However, in humans, pars intermedia is almost merged with the pars distalis, right? Neurohypophysis, the pars nervosa, is also known as posterior pituitary, stores and releases two hormones, oxytocin and vasopressin, which are actually synthesized by hypothalamus and are transported axonally. Okay, this is the main point over here in pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is attached to the hypothalamus with a stalk, and we said that the hypothalamus regulates the function of pars distalis, that is anterior pituitary, but it just almost directly regulate the functions of pars nervosa, neurohypophysis, because the neurohypophysis does not secrete any hormone. Like, it secretes hormone, it does not produce any hormone. The hormones vasopressin and oxytocin are prepared by hypothalamus, and they are transferred through a portal system to the pars nervosa, that is and posterior pituitary, and the posterior pituitary stores those hormones and release those hormones when in need. Okay, so it does not prepare any of the hormones on its own. Okay, now we have the diagram in which it doesn't say much. Okay, now revision. Pituitary gland, which is known as hypophysis, is divided into two parts: adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis. Adenohypophysis has two parts: pars distalis, pars intermedia. It is also known as anterior pituitary, pars distalis. And we have neurohypophysis, which is known as posterior pituitary. Now the adenohypophysis, anterior pituitary secretes all of the hormones. Pars intermedia secretes MSH, and neurohypophysis secretes oxytocin and vasopressin. The function: oversecretion of growth hormone stimulates abnormal growth of the body, leading to gigantism, and low secretion of growth hormone results in stunted growth, resulting in pituitary dwarfism. So we have the functions of growth hormone. So when growth hormone is, of course, growth hormone will produce growth, promote growth. So if it is secreted in large amounts, then it will promote to gigantism, and if it is produced in trace amounts, then it will promote dwarfism. We can say that hyposecretion in adults causes Simon disease, and hypersecretion in adults causes acromegaly. These are some like technical words of biology here, right? So hyposecretion of growth hormones in adults causes Simon's diseases, and hypersecretion in adults causes acromegaly. Now, prolactin. Prolactin regulates the growth of mammary glands and formation of milk in them. So prolactin basically regulates the growth of mammary glands and the regulation of milk in them. Now, TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, stimulate the synthesis and secretion of thyroid hormones from the thyroid gland. Thyroid hormone, the secretion of thyroid hormone are regulated by thyroid stimulating hormone secreted from pars distalis. ACTH, stimulate the synthesis and secretion of steroid hormones called glucocorticoids from the adrenal cortex. So basically we see here, like, these hormones are regulating the other hormones, like TSH. TSH is an hormone secreted from pituitary gland, but it regulates the function of thyroid hormone secreted from thyroid gland. Now we come to ACTH, that is adrenocorticotropic hormone. It is released from pituitary gland, but it regulates the function of adrenal gland. The hormones released from adrenal gland, like corticotropic hormone. Right, so these hormones regulate the function of other hormones. This is the reason why these are called as trophin or trophic hormones. Alright, now we have hyposecretion of ACTH is causing Cushing's disease, and hypersecretion of ACTH causes Addison's disease. ACTH also stimulates catabolism of fat and protein. Obviously, it is a corticotropic hormone. Corticotropic hormones are divided into three parts: glucocorticoids, mineralocorticoids, and some corticoids which release androgens. Maybe we will see, right? Only androgen. So glucocorticoids basically regulate the function of metabolism, that is catabolism and anabolism together. So this hormone ACTH also regulates the function of catabolism of fat, right, and protein. Next is LH and FSH, that is the hormones released from gonadotrophin hormones. Gonadal stimulate gonadal activity and hence are called gonadotrophins. In males, LH stimulate the synthesis and secretion of hormones called androgen. Okay, right? So it is also regulating another hormone, the secretion or synthesis of androgen from testes. In males, FSH and androgen regulates spermatogenesis. In females, LH induces ovulation of fully mature follicles and maintains the corpus luteum formed from the remnants of the Graafian follicle after ovulation. FSH stimulate the growth and development of ovarian follicles in females. So LH in males is promoting the secretion or regulating the secretion of androgen, and FSH in males is along with androgen is promoting the secretion of testosterone. Now in females, like LH and FSH are promoting the growth and rupture of Graafian follicles. Okay. So next is MSH, which is secreted from pars intermedia. MSH acts on the melanocytes, that is melanin containing cells, and regulate the pigmentation of skin. So basically the pigmentation of skin, the color of eyes and hairs and everything in our body are controlled by some cells known as melanin cells. So these melanin cells are regulated by melanocyte secreting hormones. If the production of melanin is high in our body, our skin will be pigmented, and if it is low, then it will be more of white color, less pigmented. Right? Next is oxytocin and vasopressin, which are released from pars nervosa, that is posterior pituitary, but produced by hypothalamus. So oxytocin acts on smooth muscles of our body and stimulates their contraction. In females, it stimulates the vigorous contraction of uterus at the time of birth and milk ejection from the mammary gland. So oxytocin acts on smooth muscles of the body, and it is basically used in females when they are pregnant. It stimulates contraction, and oxytocin is also known as love hormone. Next is vasopressin. So vasopressin basically acts mainly at kidney and stimulates the reabsorption of water and electrolytes by distal tubules, and thereby reduces loss of water through urine, that is diuresis. Hence, it is also called as antidiuretic hormone. So, another name for ADH is also vasopressin, and basically another name for vasopressin is ADH, that is antidiuretic hormone. Antidiuretic hormone basically says that it prevents diuresis. So, it prevents the loss of water through urination and increases the absorption of water from the distal convoluted tubules, that is DCT, in the kidneys. Now, ADH is secreted by supraoptic nerve cells of hypothalamus. Oxytocin, also known as pitocin, is secreted by paraventricular nerves of hypothalamus. This is an extra sub point, you do not have to remember this. Hyposecretion of ADH causes diabetes insipidus or water diuresis. Hypersecretion causes antidiuresis. Oxytocin is also known as swift birth hormone. Now next is pineal gland. The pineal gland is located on the dorsal side of forebrain. Dorsal is back side of the forebrain. Not there, it is simple. Forebrain, dorsal side of forebrain. Pineal gland secrete a hormone called melatonin. Okay, the pars intermedia secretes MSH, melanin stimulating hormone. The pineal gland secretes melatonin, and these two hormones are different from each other. The hormone from pituitary gland, that is MSH, melanin secreted stimulating hormone, controls the pigmentation of our skin, and this hormone melatonin, that is secreted from pineal gland. The first one was secreted from pituitary gland, sorry if I did this wrong. Now, the melatonin hormone secreted from pineal gland controls the diurnal rhythm of our body, sleep-wake cycle of our body, and everything like that. Let's read it. Melatonin plays a very important role in regulation of a 24-hour diurnal rhythm of our body. For example, it helps in maintaining the normal rhythms of sleep-wake cycle, body temperature. In addition, melatonin also influences metabolism, pigmentation, the menstrual cycle, as well as our defense capability, that is immune system. So melatonin and melanin are different. Next is thyroid gland. Thyroid gland is endodermal in origin. Largest gland. Thyroid gland is largest gland. It can store its own secretion. The thyroid gland is composed of two lobes which are located on either side of trachea. Both the lobes are interconnected with a thin flap of connective tissue called isthmus. The thyroid gland is composed of follicles and stromal tissues. Each thyroid follicle is composed of follicular cells enclosing cavity. Okay, so thyroid gland is composed of follicles and like tissues, and these tissues combine to form some structure which is known as thyroid gland, and the two thyroid glands are connected through isthmus. Each thyroid follicle is composed of follicular cells enclosing a cavity. These follicular cells synthesize two hormones, tetraiodothyronine or thyroxine T4 and triiodothyronine, that is T3. So these follicles from which the thyroid gland is made up is composed of follicles, and these follicular cells secrete T3 and T4 hormones. That is, T3 is tetraiodothyronine and T3 is triiodothyronine and T4 is tetraiodothyronine. Now, the T4 hormone is basically known as thyroxine hormone. Now, iodine is essential for the normal rate of body hormone synthesis in the thyroid. Deficiency of iodine in our diet result in hypothyroidism and enlargement of thyroid gland, commonly called goiter. So, hypothyroidism is known as goiter. The condition caused by hypothyroidism is known as goiter, enlargement of our thyroid gland, hypothyroidism, from the deficiency of iodine. Hypothyroidism during pregnancy causes defective development and maturation of growing baby, leading to stunted growth, cretinism, mental retardation, low intelligence quotient, abnormal skin, deaf mutism, etc. In adult women, hypothyroidism may cause menstrual cycles to become irregular. Due to cancer of thyroid gland or due to development of nodules of the thyroid glands, the rate of synthesis and secretion of thyroid hormones is increased to abnormal high levels, leading to a condition called hyperthyroidism, which adversely affects the body's physiology. Okay, so here we have two conditions given in NCERT are hyperthyroidism and hypothyroidism. Hyperthyroidism causes goiter, which is enlargement of this gland, and hypothyroidism. And hypothyroidism in pregnant women can cause stunted growth of the baby, cretinism, low intelligence quotient, and all of these things. And hyperthyroidism is caused by production of cancer cells in thyroid gland. If cancer cells are produced in thyroid gland, the gland cells will divide at a faster rate than usual, and it will increase its number. After increasing its number, it will cause hyperthyroidism. And hyperthyroidism is a condition given in like NCERT, which says that it affects the body physiology only, right? And here we have another two conditions caused by hyperthyroidism and hypothyroidism, that is myxedema, which is caused by hypothyroidism. Myxedema, hypothyroidism, condition caused by hypothyroidism, marked by thickening and swelling of skin, lethargy, weight gain, fatigue, and depression. Next is Graves' disease. Hypersecretion of TSH leads to Graves' disease, and autoimmune response causes thyroid gland to grow twice or more in size. Weight loss, frequent defecation, disturbed sleep, and irritability and bulging of eyes, which is known as exophthalmia. So, apart from NCERT, we have discussed two more conditions of hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism respectively. So for hypothyroidism, we have myxedema, which causes weight gain, lethargy, and skin thickening. And now we have hyperthyroidism. Hyperthyroidism causes Graves' disease, which causes bulging of eyes, exophthalmia, thyroid glands grows 2 or 3 times larger in size, and we have weight loss, defecation, right? This is also known as Graves' disease, which is also an autoimmune response. Next is thyroid hormones play an important role in regulation of basal metabolic rate. So basal metabolic rate is basically the metabolism of our body, the catabolism and anabolism combined together. So when basal metabolic rate is high in our body, the catabolism or anabolism of a fat, protein, and carbohydrate, it is at a much faster rate, and it is good for our body. When it is low, it is slow in our body. Next is these hormones also support the production of red blood cell. Erythropoiesis is also done by thyroid stimulating hormones. Thyroid hormones control the metabolism of carbohydrate, fat, and protein. Maintenance of water and electrolyte balance is also influenced by, these are just all the functions I have discussed already. Thyroid glands also secrete a protein hormone called thyrocalcitonin, TCT, which regulates the blood calcium level. So this is important. It is this thyroid hormone secretes a protein hormone. Thyroid gland secretes a protein hormone which is known as thyrocalcitonin hormone, and thyrocalcitonin hormone decreases the level of calcium in blood and increases the level of calcium in bones. So thyroid glands secrete a protein hormone known as thyrocalcitonin, which is in short TCT. It decreases the concentration of calcium in blood and increases it to bones. It takes away the calcium from blood and gives it away to the bones. So the bones get strengthened. But there is another hormone which acts contrary to the thyroid stimulating thyrocalcitonin, which is parathyroid, which is secreted by parathyroid hormone, that is PCT. This PCT works exactly opposite to the TCT. It does extract the calcium from the bones and gives it away to the blood. So it weakens the bone and the calcium level concentration increases in the blood. So now we are studying it in detail, that is parathyroid hormone. In humans, 4 parathyroid glands are present on the back side of thyroid gland, one pair each in 2 lobes. So we have studied that we have 2 lobes of thyroid gland present in our cells. There is one is this side, one is this side, and it is connected by isthmus, and in each lobe there are 2 parathyroid glands are present. So in complete we have 4 parathyroid glands in our cells in human beings, and these parathyroid glands secrete a peptide hormone called parathyroid hormone, PTH, not PCT, sorry, PTH, parathyroid hormone. The secretion of PTH is regulated by circulating levels of calcium ions. Parathyroid hormone increases the calcium levels in blood. PTH acts on bones and stimulates the process of bone resorption, dissolution or demineralization. So it demineralizes bones. It takes away the calcium, that is the mineral ion, from the bones and gives it away to the blood. It also causes osteoporosis. PTH also stimulates reabsorption of calcium by renal tubule and increases calcium absorption from the digested food. It is thus clear that PTH is a hypercalcemic hormone, and we are talking with respect to blood. It increases the calcium levels in blood, so it is known as hypercalcemic hormone. Parathyroid hormone is known as hypercalcemic hormone, whereas thyrocalcitonin, that is TCT, is hypocalcemic hormone. Now we have, it increases the blood calcium level along with TCT, plays a significant role. So both these act contrary to each other and balance the calcium level in bones and blood. Now hypersecretion of PTH causes osteoporosis. So if we have large amount of PTH, that is, it will extract calcium from bones and gives it away to the blood and blood. It will away all the calcium one time, we can say that, for example, and the bones will get weakened and demineralized that much. It will cause osteoporosis. Draws more calcium from the bones, making them soft, and they will get fractured. The BMD, bone mineral density, get reduced. Hyposecretion of parathyroid hormones causes parathyroidectomy. Lower calcium ion concentration in blood due to excretion of calcium ion in urine, resulting in hyperexcitability of nerve muscle during causing cramps and convulsions. So if hyposecretion of parathyroid hormone is here, it will fail to give blood the calcium ions. It will fail to reabsorb the calcium ions from the urinary pathway. The calcium ion will flow through the urine, not go into the blood that is filtered by glomerulus apparatus and all. So the blood calcium level will decrease, causing convulsions and cramps in the muscles. Okay, so both those hormones are important. Next is our thymus gland. The thymus gland is a lobular structure located between lungs, behind sternum, on the ventral side of aorta. The thymus plays a major role in development of immune system. Okay, this gland secretes the peptide hormone called thymosins. Thymosins play a major role in differentiation of T lymphocyte, which will provide cell-mediated immunity. In addition, thymosin also produces the production of antibodies to provide humoral immunity. Thymus is, okay, first we will study about thymus. Thymus is basically related to immune system. First, thymus secretes thymosins, and these thymosins help in differentiation of T lymphocytes that are basically produced in thymus itself. And these T lymphocytes helps in cell-mediated immunity. There are 2 types of immunities: cell-mediated immunities, that is known as CMI, and humoral immunity. Humoral immunity is basically related to blood or fluid immunity present in our cells. So in blood we see that there are antigens and antibody there, and in cells we have T lymphocyte that fight for our germs. So to provide immunity in cells, we have T lymphocyte which are produced by thymosins. Like thymosin helps in differentiation, which are produced by thymus, but the thymosin secreted by thymus helps in differentiation of T lymphocytes. Now the thymus also secretes antigens, and these antigens are basically required for humoral immunity, and these will go into the blood, and antigen will produce humoral immunity. Okay, so basically thymus provides both those immunities. And there are B lymphocytes also, but these B lymphocytes are produced by bone marrow. Thymus is degenerated in old individuals, resulting in a decreased production of thymosin. As a result, the immune responses of old persons becomes weak. So by age, as we grow up, the thymus gland gets shorter in size, like it gets reduced in size, and by the age, our immune system it gets weakened. Now, adrenal gland. So our body has one pair of adrenal glands. One is the anterior part of each kidney. So adrenal, we know by renal we mean kidney. So adrenal gland is present over kidney, on the top of kidney, just like cap. Okay. The gland is composed of two types of tissues. The centrally located tissue is called the adrenal medulla, which is ectodermal in origin, and outside this lies adrenal cortex, which is mesodermal in origin. So now we have our cap, which is adrenal gland, and in adrenal gland we have two parts: adrenal medulla, that is inside, which is ectodermal in origin, and the outer part, the adrenal cortex, which is mesodermal in origin. Now, the adrenal medulla secretes two hormones: adrenaline or epinephrine, and non-adrenaline or norepinephrine. These are commonly called catecholamines. So basically we can say that adrenal medulla secretes catecholamines. So these catecholamines are noradrenaline or adrenaline, or we can say norepinephrine or epinephrine. These are flight, fight, or whatever this is, hormones, flight hormones. These are secreted in case of emergency. It increases the heart rate, breathing rate, and all these things in our body. These are commonly called catecholamines. The adrenaline and non-adrenaline are rapidly secreted in response of any stress or any kind of during emergency situation, and are called emergency hormones or hormones of flight or fight. These hormones increase alertness, pupillary dilation, pile erection, sweating, etc. Both the hormones increase the heartbeat, the strength of heart contraction, and the rate of respiration. Catecholamines also stimulate the breakdown of glycogen, resulting in the increased concentration of glucose in blood. In addition, they stimulate the breakdown of lipids and proteins. Okay, so basically we can see it as a situation that we are afraid, we are in an emergency, we are doing our work fastly as we do not do usually. Like it is a catecholamine, so its work is somewhat like to break down the fat and protein also. So when we are in any kind of emergency or in an sudden emergency, then we feel these hormones are released. So it causes piloerection, that is goosebumps, we can say, pupillary dilation, eyes get dilated, and increases heart rate, increases breathing rates, and all these things. So these hormones does these works, and it rapidly like breaks down glycogen to form glucose. We need more energy at that time, right? And breakdown of fat and protein also. The adrenal cortex can be divided into three layers: zona reticularis, inner layer; zona fasciculata, middle layer; and zona glomerulosa, outer layer. So I just learned it this way. Basically, adrenal cortex is divided into three parts. The innermost part, where all the blood vessels are present, is also known as reticularis. The middle part is fasciculata, and the only left part, the outermost part, is glomerulosa. So it has three parts: reticularis, fasciculata, glomerulosa. The adrenal cortex secretes many hormones, commonly called as corticoids. So this is the gland which basically secretes the corticoids, and ACTH secreted from pituitary gland was controlling these corticotropic hormones. So the corticoids which are involved in the carbohydrate metabolism are called glucocorticoids. In our body, cortisol is the main glucocorticoid which is released in stress. Corticoids which regulate the balance of water and electrolytes in our body are called mineralocorticoids. Aldosterone is the main mineralocorticoid in our body. Glucocorticoids stimulate gluconeogenesis, lipolysis, and proteolysis, and inhibit cellular uptake and utilization of amino acids. Cortisol is also involved in maintaining the cardiovascular systems as well as the kidney functions. Glucocorticoids, particularly cortisol, produces anti-inflammatory reaction and suppresses immune response. Okay, so let's do a revision over here. We have our adrenal gland, which is present on the top of renal gland, which is kidney. So it secretes, basically it has two parts: adrenal medulla, which is the innermost part, and the adrenal cortex, which is the outer part. Medulla is ectodermal in origin, and cortex is basically mesodermal in origin. And now the adrenal medulla secretes catecholamines, which are epinephrine or norepinephrine, or we can call them adrenaline or noradrenaline. These hormones are secreted in the case of emergency. Basically, in normal kind of emergencies, like in normal cases, the hormone noradrenaline is released, which causes pupillary dilation and all these things. These do the same function, but in normal condition, noradrenaline is released, and in like extreme condition in which the forced pupillary dilation is required, like in case of emergency, in case of harsh emergency, the adrenaline is released. These do pupillary dilation, piloerection, increased heart rate, increased breathing rate, glyconeogenesis, and etc. Now we have our adrenal cortex, which secretes basically corticoids, and these corticoids are of three types: mineralocorticoids, glucocorticoids, and androgen. Glucocorticoids basically perform the function of fat and carbohydrate breakdown. So it breaks down fat from our body. Glucocorticoids, these are very important for us, right? So the basically main glucocorticoid is cortisol, which is also released in the presence of stress, right? And next we have mineralocorticoids. The mineralocorticoids regulate the balance of water and minerals in our body. So the main mineralocorticoid is aldosterone. Now next we have cortisol, involved in maintaining also like cardiovascular activity, increases heart rate and blood pressure and all. Glucocorticoid anti-inflammatory reaction, suppresses immune response to stimulate RBC production. Aldosterone acts mainly at the renal tubule, stimulate the reabsorption of sodium and water and excretion of potassium and phosphate ions. Thus, aldosterone helps in maintenance of electrolytes, body fluid volume, osmotic pressure, and blood pressure. Small amount of androgenic steroids are also secreted by adrenal cortex, which play a role in growth of axial hair, pubic hair, and facial hair during puberty. Now, next we have pancreas. It is a big part. So, pancreas basically, in an overview, it is a mixed gland basically, right? Exocrine and endocrine both. In the beginning of this video, I said ectocrine by mistake. Exocrine. Now, in exocrine secretion, it secretes pancreatic juice. In endocrine, it secretes insulin, glucagon, and somatostatin. Right. So it has islets of Langerhans, which secretes hormones. That is, islets of Langerhans are basically endocrine in nature. It has alpha, beta, and delta cells, right? Yeah, alpha, beta, and delta cells, not gamma cells. So alpha cells secrete glucagon, beta cells secretes insulin, and delta cells secrete somatostatin. What alpha cells does is it secretes glucagon. Glucagon increases the blood sugar level, like it increases the sugar level in our blood. If the blood sugar level falls down, the islets of Langerhans releases glucagon to increase it up to a normal range. Now next we have beta cells. The beta cells secrete insulin hormone, which decreases the blood sugar levels. So if the blood sugar level is getting high, insulin will be given to the patient. If the patient is of diabetes, then insulin injections would be given to them to decrease the blood sugar level. Now we have delta cells. Insulin would be given if the patient have diabetes, but if normally the blood sugar level is rising about a normal range, then delta cells does the function. Delta cells prevents the function of both alpha cells and beta cells. It inhibits the function. It is an inhibitory hormone. Somatostatin inhibits the secretion of glucagon as well as insulin. This was the all overview of this pancreatic gland. Now next, pancreas is a composite gland which acts both as exocrine and endocrine gland. The endocrine pancreas consists of isles of Langerhans. There are about 1 to 2 million isles of Langerhans in a normal human pancreas, representing only 1 to 2% of pancreatic tissue. The two main type of cells in NCERT, there are only alpha and beta cells given. So alpha and beta cells. So alpha cells secrete hormone called glucagon, while beta cells secrete insulin. Glucagon is a peptide hormone and plays an important role in maintaining the normal blood glucose levels. Glucagon acts mainly on the liver cells, hepatocytes, and stimulate glycogenolysis. So how they do that? Glucose is a kind of sugar, and as talking about glycogen, to increase the blood sugar level, you have to produce more glucose, provide more glucose to the blood. So how do you do that? It breaks down glycogen by many ways, like genolysis or normal glycogenesis and all these, neogenesis, glyconeogenolysis and all these, to produce glucose. And opposite to that, insulin does all the opposite functions to that, resulting in an increased blood sugar, hyperglycemia. So glycogen is a hyperglycemic hormone, whereas insulin is a hypoglycemic hormone. And all these we are talking with respect to blood again. Insulin is a peptide hormone which plays a major role in regulation of glucose homeostasis. Insulin acts mainly on the hepatocytes and adipocytes, cells of adipose tissue, and enhances cellular glucose uptake and utilization. As a result, there is a rapid movement of glucose from blood to hepatocytes and adipocytes, resulting in decreased blood glucose levels, hypoglycemia. Insulin also stimulates conversion of glucose to glycogenesis. In target cell, the glucose homeostasis in blood is thus maintained jointly by two hormones, that is insulin and glucagon. So when insulin has to lower the blood sugar level, what it does is it like snatches away the glucose and gives it away to the cells that requires glucose. And other function it does is it promotes the formation of glycogen in the body, because glycogen would be formed from glucose. So it does glycogenesis. So glucose converts into glycogen, thereby lowering the blood glucose levels. Now, prolonged hyperglycemia leads to a complex disorder called diabetes mellitus, which is associated with loss of glucose through urine and formation of harmful compounds known as ketone bodies. Diabetic patients are successfully treated by insulin therapy. So as I said that prolonged hyperglycemia, like if the glucagon is secreted simultaneously and the blood glucose rises to more than the normal, then insulin treatment would be given, and it causes diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus is caused by high glucagon levels in the blood. Right? Now, blood glucose level is equal to 70 to 110 milligram per 100 ml of blood. It is also known as norm or set point. So, if 70 to 110 milligram glucose is present in 100 milligram ml of blood, then it is normal. If it is less, then you will have to give glucagon, and if it is more, then you will have to give insulin to the patient.